What starts here changes the world. I have a few suggestions that may help you on your way to a better world. And while these lessons were learned during my time in the military, I can assure you that it matters not whether you ever served a day in uniform. It matters not your gender, your ethnic or religious background, your orientation, or your social status. Our struggles in this world are similar, and the lessons to overcome those struggles and to move forward, changing ourselves and changing the world around us, will apply equally to all. So here are the 10 lessons I learned from basic SEAL training that hopefully will be of value to you as you move forward in life. Every morning in SEAL training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. During SEAL training, the students are all broken down into boat crews. Each crew is 7 students, 3 on each side of a small rubber boat, and 1 coxswain to help guide the dinghy. Every day, your boat crew forms up on the beach and is instructed to get through the surf zone and paddle several miles down the coast. In the winter, the surf off San Diego can get to be 8 to 10 feet high, and it is exceedingly difficult to paddle through the plunging surf unless everyone digs in. Every paddle must be synchronized to the stroke count of the coxswain. Everyone must exert equal effort, or the boat will turn against the wave and be unceremoniously dumped back on the beach. For the boat to make it to its destination, everyone must paddle. You can't change the world alone. You will need some help. And to truly get from your starting point to your destination takes friends, colleagues, the goodwill of strangers, and a strong coxswain to guide you. If you want to change the world, find someone to help you paddle. Over a few weeks of difficult training, my SEAL class, which started with 150 men, was down to just 42. There were now 6 boat crews of 7 men each. I was in the boat with the tall guys, but the best boat crew we had was made up of the little guys, the Munchkin crew, we called them. No one was over 5'5". The Munchkin boat crew had 1 American Indian, 1 African American, 1 Polish American, 1 Greek American, 1 Italian American, and 2 tough kids from the Midwest. They out-paddled, outran, and outswam all the other boat crews. The big men in the other boat crews would always make good-natured fun of the tiny little flippers the Munchkins put on their tiny little feet prior to every swim. But somehow these little guys from every corner of the nation and the world always had the last laugh, swimming faster than everyone and reaching the shore long before the rest of us. SEAL training was a great equalizer. Nothing mattered but your will to succeed, not your color, not your ethnic background, not your education, not your social status. If you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of their heart, not by the size of their flippers.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Chaos Project podcast. Today we have with us Sheriff Richard Mack. He's, a constitutional sheriff. He does the Constitutional Sheriff's Association, and then also took the government to court over the 10th Amendment and successfully won. This was under the Clinton administration, if my memory serves me correctly. So would you like to reintroduce yourselves to our audience, please?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Dale. Yes, I was nodding. I wasn't sure I was on yet, but yes, I went to the Supreme Court. I actually sued the Clintons and lived to tell about it. So there's another miracle for you.
Yeah.
I spent 20 years in law enforcement. I've done everything in law enforcement imaginable. And the most traumatic thing I ever did in my 20 years of law enforcement was I was an undercover narcotics agent. And wow, I absolutely hated every minute of it. I had to frequent bars. I had to act like I was a drinker and a smoker and a pothead. And I hated all of that. It was completely foreign to my upbringing. I did not party in high school. I was involved in choir, student government, drama, football, basketball, baseball, and very active in my church. And I was very busy. And I never smoked marijuana in my life except when I was a police officer undercover.
Oh.
Yeah. And I hated beer, and I hated booze, and I hated drinking. I hated smoking. And I couldn't even, in fact, my lungs, Dale, were so virgin that I couldn't even inhale cigarette smoke.
Wow.
I couldn't do it. And it would make me cough. So I became very adept at feigning cigarette smoking.
Yes.
And I could actually take it in my mouth and then blow it out my nose. And it looked like I was really smoking. And I never inhaled one time. Finally, I got so sick and tired after 5 or 6 months of just trying to fake it all the time with cigarette smoking. I told my sergeant, I said, "Hey, come on, Sarge. I'm just going to pretend now that I quit smoking." I told everybody I was sick and tired of smoking, and I need to quit. My doctor told me I needed to quit, so I quit. He goes, "Yeah, that's all right. Go ahead." But so I actually told everybody I quit smoking the last couple of months of my undercover assignment. But I was still, if I was still buying pot and other drugs, the only drug that I was allowed to actually smoke was marijuana. Or to consume. Any others, pills or cocaine, mushrooms, any other, no way. I had to find a way not to. But marijuana was so common, they passed it around in the bars. We're sitting at a table and they're passing it around. And if I'm the only one that passes it and doesn't smoke it, then that would be crazy.
They're going to be like, "What's wrong?"
Yeah. Yeah, of course. They're going to say, "Hey, look at that guy." So for some reason, maybe it was because it was a natural herb, I could inhale marijuana smoke, but I could not with tobacco.
Yeah. I used to smoke cigarettes as a kid. Dumbest thing that I've ever done in my life. Like it does absolutely nothing. And I don't recommend anybody starting. It was actually the hardest thing for me to give up. I was a stupid kid and I tried all kinds of stupid stuff and then end up paying the price for it and then having to figure out and quitting it later. And I don't know how went through my university years, my liver didn't quit. Right. And so forth. And we did drugs and so forth. And don't do it. It's not worth it. Right.
Yeah. How many people did I arrest and deal with in law enforcement those 20 years that just wished to God they had never started, whether it was smoking or drinking or drugs, they just begged and begged for some miracle to come in their lives so they could get off drugs. Many of them went to rehab 2 or 3 or 4 times over and just could not kick the habit. And every one of them just wished to God that they had never started. And that's the message I send to everybody on this program. To the children and youth in our schools today, the best thing you can do is never start.
Speaking of this, the here in Canada, now they're beginning to realize they had a problem. And you didn't need to be like a prophet or a Jedi to foresee that giving out drugs was going to be a problem. They were handing out drugs like it was candy. Like, I mean, you could go in and buy fentanyl and hard drugs in BC because they decriminalized it, and lo and behold, all these drugs start flooding on the streets. We've got a bunch of tent cities. They were teaching kids how to go and do drugs. You can go and buy a pipe out of a vending machine and all that kind of stuff. It's nuts.
Well, I will tell you, I do not support the war on drugs. I do not. I don't believe in it anymore. I lived in it for 20 years. I worked against it. For 1 year, I was undercover and I lived in the drug culture. But I will tell you this, as a complete freedom issue to me, I don't want a government who thinks it's dedicated to protecting me from myself, to protecting me from my own habits and my own poor decisions like that. I believe in arresting people for drinking and driving. I don't care what you're high on. If it's pills, prescription drugs, marijuana, booze, I don't care. If you're impaired and you're driving, I will be happy to, not happy, but I will arrest you because you're taking the lives of other people in your hands, and that's it. But if somebody's smoking marijuana in their home, or they grow marijuana in their kitchen or their basement, and they're not hurting anybody else, then why is government involved? And I think, and I'll say that all across the board. If you're doing drugs, I wish you were not. No one hates drug abuse more than I do. I hate it, but I think the government has made it worse, and I don't want a government always trying to find out what's in my glove box, or my pocket, or my home, or my chest of drawers, or anything. The prohibition that we had in the 1920s and the prohibition we have now are complete failures, and we have not stopped anyone from using drugs. What have we done for the drug problem? What have we done?
We haven't. They don't want to stop drugs. They go after the most people that you're seeing and getting arrested are the guy that's a junkie and he's trying to support his habit, right? The guys that are bringing it in, like on the shipping containers, along with children and women and trafficking people,
exactly.
They're not getting stopped, because the one thing that I understood when I was doing drugs and stuff like that is that human trafficking and drug trafficking go hand in hand, and the government is involved, because like you're going to tell me that you can figure out what guy has a couple of grams of crack or heroin or whatever it is in his pocket, but you don't know about the shipping containers that have tons of it coming into your ports. Get lost, right? Like,
and how many sheriff's offices and police agencies and federal police and Interpol and all the other police agencies in the world, they can't find these children that have been sold into sex slavery. There's very little effort going after that, and it's the worst crime in the world.
Of course,
very little done.
I mean, here in Canada, Pornhub is out of Canada, and they were making profit off of, raping kids. Let's just be straight out. And they refused to take things down. They had very little staff, left it up for weeks, and the people were saying, yes, sex traffickers, they can make money off it. We know about it. We're not really going to do anything about it. And the government didn't do anything about it. That's a crime. If you're making money off of raping kids, I don't care. You need prison, right? There's no way that you allow this stuff to happen all the time, but you want to go after somebody for doing something that's a minor infraction, right? Somebody talks against the government, they get thrown in jail, but people are profiting off of raping kids. No, sorry.
And it's, as you alluded to, it's big money, and they know how to hide it, and they know how to launder it. They know how to launder this money and make it look clean, because the cartels And let's use the biggest example in the pedophile movement, Epstein.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at him. Okay, he hobnobbed with very powerful politicians all across America and probably across the world. And why? Because he made donations to all of them, and he also arranged visits for all of them. He arranged children, underage girls for a lot of these politicians, and including the Prince. Was it Prince Andrew in England?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been caught at it. He's been charged, I think, now twice. But let's be real about this. The cartels create fake companies, and then those companies dish out bonuses and campaign donations to politicians all over the country, especially Arizona. And when they put their donation down, they put some company down that is actually owned and controlled by the cartels.
You know, it's the funny thing.
Problem.
Oh yes, the funny thing is you talked about Arizona. Arizona and Saskatchewan are very much alike. They're very corrupt. Like they had corporations, government paying corporations that didn't exist, right? Like they just had somebody talk about, because China has been funding a lot of the cartels, and then they would use the Canadian banks to launder them, right? Since a lot of their operations came from Mexico to Canada, because they're like, we got a long border, you can't defend it, too bad, right? And so you're looking at the amount of corruption. The cartels are in bed with the government. There's organized crime. Even the Canadian, law enforcement, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service says there's corruption at every level of government, like organized crime. And the CCP.
Yeah. No. Well, I read a book once called The Sovereign Individual back in 1998, 1999. And it was written by two international economists. Mm-hmm. But they were explaining to the world how everybody can be sovereign, because when the internet and cyber crimes happen, it'll be impossible to go after some of these people. But they made an assertion in there that one Foster, who supposedly killed himself. What's his first name? Vince Foster. That was an employee and attorney for the Clintons, and then all of a sudden he just decided to kill himself. And so, that was very, very suspicious at best. But what they accused, they said the only real competition that the mafia has is corrupt government.
Yes. Yeah. So it's 100% true.
100%.
You can't get, the government is, I know in Canada, they monitor everything that we do. They do it illegally. They know who's doing what. And if you don't, it's like if you don't play their game, then you get arrested. If you play their game, they'll let you go. They'll keep some people going. And we've seen this every so often. You'll see the police getting busted involved in this kind of activity. And actually, I was talking to one of the police officers here, and his job was to investigate corrupt judges and corrupt police. And he was good at doing what he was doing, and they got rid of him because they can't have that. And they were getting rid of all the people that were investigating the corruption as they were breeding more corruption. And so now when we go to get things like go over and bring in evidence of serious crime and have evidence like audio and video evidence of these crimes occurring, they can't do anything about it. But you say something against the government who's clearly involved in crime and involved, we look at the Epstein list and so forth, the documents that were released, well, you get arrested for talking about it. That's a big problem. I have a huge problem when that happens. And this is why, sheriffs are going to be a very important part going along, because there's a lot of people going in a lot of counties that are breaking the law, and the sheriffs can arrest them, and they should.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, if we're gonna clean the corruption up in this country, we have got to have sheriffs doing more criminal investigations, uh, within their counties against local corrupt public officials and also state officials. Though, why wouldn't the sheriffs form a coalition? And every state already has the sheriff's state association. Okay, so like in Arizona, we had the Arizona Sheriff's Association. Florida has the Florida Sheriff's Association. They should be discussing every bit of this that you and I are discussing. They should be looking at public officials who are corrupt, and folks, all they need is from one of you any complaint that a public official has committed a crime or an act of corruption, and you need to take that before your sheriff and show him the evidence. Then he can initiate the arrest. No, initiate a criminal investigation and find out if indeed there is a crime going on. That needs to happen almost now on a daily basis. For instance, the few cases that sheriffs handled across this country with election fraud were brought to the sheriff's office by a citizen. So there's numerous examples of that, but it hasn't happened enough. And should the sheriffs investigate crimes right now in Minnesota about election fraud? Yes, absolutely. And I think the biggest crook in all of that is Governor Walz. And he's pretty much admitted, and they even have people that have come forward that showed years and years ago, they told him about this. And what did he do? He attacked them. He attacked the whistleblowers. Folks, you Minnesota sheriffs, you got to take charge of what's going on there. And you got to get involved. Sheriffs should be involved in the deportation. Sheriffs should be involved in protecting protesters. Sheriffs should be involved in making sure that ICE agents do not violate the law and do not abuse citizens. I believe in deportation. I believe in Tom Homan, but I also believe in checks and balances. And the ultimate check and balance in every county in this country is the county sheriff. Why? Because he reports only to the people. He serves only the people. He is the ultimate executor of the law. He is the conservator of peace. And that's actually a quote from the Delaware Constitution, the first state in our union. So, folks, the sheriffs answer only to you. You're his only boss. He's elected by, for, and of the people. He is appointed by you, and he answers to you. You're his supervisor. So we need to start using the sheriffs more, and the sheriffs need to be a lot more active in making sure that federal agents do not come into his county and abuse and violate the rights of the people.
Because I agree. I've been talking with some people in Minnesota, and there's a lot of fraud. And it's not just in Minnesota. We have to understand, like we were talking offline about the IRS and how much like this is a criminal enterprise. Like the taxation, this is a crime. That if the founding fathers saw the tax, that they wouldn't have gotten this far. They would have overthrown the government a long time ago, because there was way less tax that they were getting from the British that they went nuts over. Right now, you work a job, you get taxed. You buy a house, you get taxed. You pay property tax every year to keep your house, or they take it. So you buy something, you go buy gas, you get taxed on the gas. You buy a car, you get taxed on the car. You die, you give your estate to your kids, they get taxed on capital gains. And now here they want to put an equity tax? Like what?
How about a wealth tax? Just for being wealthy, you get taxed.
This is slavery. You can't get ahead in this thing. They just keep burning you down, and then you look at how they're hiring more and more public servants.
Let's not skip over what you just said. It is absolutely slavery.
Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I've said that before. We are slaves to these corrupt IRS agents who just come in and run roughshod over anybody. And they audited my father after he served 35 years in the FBI. He's teaching a part-time class at Eastern Arizona College in Southeast Arizona, where I used to be sheriff. And they come in and audit him, and they go, in 1978, when they audited my father, they said that he owed $6,500. That's a lot of money. And look, we had a 3-bedroom home, 1 family car, and his FBI car. That's it. And we were middle class, and they said my dad owed that kind of money. Well, he started investigating their investigation. He got his attorney, he got his accountant, and he proved that they fabricated evidence against him, and he proved that they actually owed him money. And they completely destroyed my dad's life and his trust in government that he worked for and dedicated his life to. Then my father-in-law got randomly audited 11 years in a row. 11 years in a row. And they own you. These people are the Gestapo of America, and they know they can get away with anything because they have for over 120 years. Folks, the IRS is a bunch of bullies and crooks and intimidators, and they don't care one iota about who you are, what you are. They used to get commissions, and in fact, I think they still do, but they try to hide it better. But they get commissions for going after people and collecting more money.
Oh,
you got to know something's wrong with that.
Yes, they're trying to line their pockets. That's like the Roman tax collectors, man. Like, they would pay them to collect tax. They would pay people in each area collect tax for us, and you can skim off the top, and so you can charge whatever you want. So if they said the tax was 5%, you can charge 12% and pocket as long as they got their cut. They didn't care.
And Dale, do you know that if you go to court, if you go to tax court, do you know the judge will not allow you to present any of the rules or laws that the IRS is supposed to go by?
What?
You can't even present evidence. That most of the judge will say, no, we're just here to decide whether or not you owe this. Well, what if the IRS is violating the law? Why can't I show the jury? And he'll excuse the jury while you discuss that, and he tells you how you can't use any of that in your defense.
That's
all such a scam. Why do Republicans and Democrats allow this rogue criminal organization to continue to harass and abuse and victimize the American people? Why have they allowed this agency to continue on doing this?
I mean, because I think at the end of the day, it comes down to the people. People haven't been making it enough of a stink about the whole situation, because the government is going to do whatever they're going to get away with. We know that there's a lot of blackmail going on. We know that there's a lot of people they're on the take. Like, the Epstein files just made that very clear, what people already knew. And so if people don't put pressure and hold these people's feet to the fire, nothing's going to change. It's not.
No, and you're right. We the people, we're in charge. The first 3 words of our Constitution, we the people. And we've got to stop accepting the abuse and stop being these obedient little slaves that just cower away. Well, okay, whatever you say, IRS, whatever you say, government, we'll do whatever you say. Folks, we've got to stop being so timid about telling our government what it should be doing. Look, I have never supported violence, and that's not what I'm talking about. If we commit acts of civil disobedience, just like Martin Luther King did, then that's what we should be doing nationwide to get rid of this horrible tax situation that we're suffering from. Look at what the taxes are used for, and look at all the fraud stolen from the American people. But let's look at the spending of Washington, D.C. Let's look at the spending habits and crimes of politicians in Washington, D.C. First of all, they've got us where we're almost $40 trillion in debt, which is absolutely insurmountable and inescapable. They are ruining our economy. They are taking that money and spending on all these different programs and funding the fraud and criminality that's going on with these politicians.
Oh yes.
And then look at it. They can always have enough money for all their special projects, but they come after us if we owe $5,000 on our taxes. Why don't they just leave us alone and let us keep all of our money and just raise the national debt like they do for all their pet projects? Obviously, they don't need it. Why do they keep coming after us on these little issues and hire tens of thousands of IRS agents to monitor us and come after us when they can keep spending as much as they want no matter what?
We have to start asking the question, how is it that we got into debt? Countries got into debt in the first place? Because countries used to print their own money, produce their own money, have their own banking done. And why are we going to central banks to borrow money that we are producing ourselves? Why? Yeah. Right? Like that I was just like, that sounds like some racket that you would see from the mafia.
Describe the Federal Reserve of the United States of America.
Yes. I mean,
that's it.
Here in Canada, the central bank in Canada the Bank of Canada was owned by the Canadian citizens, and then they gave it away to someone else, to the central bankers that now control it. That's a total sovereignty issue. No. Right? Why are we were making our own money. We were fine just the way we are. We are on the gold standard and all that sort of stuff. And then everybody went on to this fiat currency, which is just, it's criminal. It's like, well, you're going to promise you pay your debt, so we're going to value your money at this. Excuse me? It's nonsense. We're working for monopoly money while everybody else is taking the actual assets, and we're watching the inflation go up, and everybody's becoming poor.
I've got another example for you of the disgusting, corrupt spending, criminal spending of Washington, D.C. How about that they take money from taxpayers and funnel it to Planned Parenthood?
Yeah.
Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is a private company. It has nothing to do with our government. It is not a government entity. It is an NGO, non-government organization. And yet, do they provide a government service? No, they do not. Providing abortions for the people in our country is not a government responsibility. I'm sorry, folks, but me and my neighbors have no obligation whatsoever to be forced by government to pay for the lady's abortion down the street. No, that government, that is not the purpose of government. If I want to donate to them or whatever, anybody's free to donate to Planned Parenthood. Okay. I wish they didn't exist, and I don't like them. And I think they're a bunch of crooks, and I think they deal in human parts, in body parts and stuff from these aborted babies. And they even say that it's okay to kill a baby while it's being born. That's called partial birth abortion. So no, I do not trust or like or care for Planned Parenthood whatsoever. But there's a lot of politicians that totally support this. And they steal money from the taxpayers and pay $800 million, almost $1 billion a year, to Planned Parenthood. Now, I think Trump has cut back that, and I think they defunded Planned Parenthood 1 year. But this needs, if the Democrats get back in there, they're going to be funding Planned Parenthood even more.
Yes.
Folks, is it a lawful expenditure? No, it is not. And then what does Planned Parenthood get? They take a bunch of that money and then funnel it back to in form of election donations to the very politicians that gave it to them in the first place.
Oh, yes.
This is about as criminal as you can get. That is all criminal and illegal. And that is your Washington, D.C. corruption.
Oh, yes. We're going to take a short break and we'll discuss this further because I got something to say about this.
Hello friends, my name is Kaysha and I'm a proud member of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. And I'm also a survivor of human trafficking. My trafficking began in Saskatchewan, moved into Alberta, and even crossed into the United States. I was stalked, hunted, and ignored by the very systems over the last 5 years that were meant to protect me. This is why, with my father Dale Richardson, we started the Caris Project. This is an Indigenous, survivor-led movement for humanity dedicated to exposing trafficking, government corruption, and holding institutions accountable. One of the most powerful tools that we are using is the petitions for redress of grievances. These are lawful constitutional actions rooted in Canadian and U.S. law, and in treaties that tie us together across provinces, across states, and even across borders. These petitions are precedent-setting. They create a binding record. They demand accountability while representing reconciliation in action. Indigenous and non-Indigenous people working side by side to preserve liberty for all. But we cannot do this alone. We need your help to keep this movement alive, to raise awareness and to build a legacy of justice for Indigenous women, for trafficking survivors, and for families everywhere. Thank you. Please stand with us. Your support makes this work possible. Together we can restore justice, heal families, and defend freedom. And I will close with my favorite quote. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who cannot be bought or sold. Men who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle to the pole. And men who will stand for the right, though the heavens may fall. Thank you.
And so, everybody, if you want to support the fight against the human trafficking and so forth, we saw the QR codes there, or you can go to mypillow.com and use the promo code CARIS to call 1-800-845-2942. Or if you're watching on Rumble, Facebook, or Vocal, you'll see the links in the description. We have merchandise and other products that you can use to support. So if Lord puts it on your heart to support, please do, because we need to put these criminals away. I'm tired of them. And the Planned Parenthood, this is.
Wait. I've got to respond to your daughter's
yes.
plea there. I am so proud of the stand that she's taking, and I'm so proud of her articulate presentation that I just saw. And wow, she almost brought me to tears. Being trafficked and being a victim of all of that, and then coming back fighting like she is. God bless Kaysha Richardson, and God bless you and her both, and God bless your effort and your movement. And I was so impressed. She is an absolute amazing, stalwart, courageous young lady.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah, she's lucky, and you are too. Yes, she's lucky that she survived all that. But,
yes,
she has the spirit of God and the spirit of freedom about her. And God bless your daughter. What an amazing woman.
Oh, yes. I mean, God bless her too, because I mean, with God, if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be here. And so I'm like, too bad for everyone else. I'm like, when nobody cared, God was there. And all you guys that are doing that evil, I understand why God says don't do it. So you guys need to stop. And I don't care. Like, this is where I'm at. I don't want to live in a situation where you can just murder babies, rape kids, and get away with it. And there is zero constitutional right to abortion. People sit down and say it's a constitutional right. I'm like,
zero.
I'm like, you cannot take away life or liberty without due process of law. So what due process and what law did the baby violate that you're going to kill?
Yeah.
Really?
It's the antithesis of America's backdrop of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is absolutely the antithesis of everything America was destined to stand for. And yet, these politicians, this is how crooked, this is how absolute corrupt, especially the Democrat Party, but it's some Republicans too, that support this heinous, criminal, evil activity.
You have to sit down and begin to think about this. When you say that the default when you don't want someone is to kill them, that's a problem, right? Yeah. Because look at here in Canada, now it's filtering to the United States with the medical assistance in dying, where they're like, too bad. And people said they didn't want it and they still got killed anyway. This is where we're trending.
these people aren't necessary anymore. These people aren't needed anymore. These people don't even know they're alive. That's not our call.
No,
That's not your call.
No.
Nobody gets to make that call except for God. The Democrats always want to play God and say when people can be killed. Oh, well, this stupid girl on one of the interviews at a college with Charlie Kirk. She said, well, if I don't have an abortion, I'll have to quit college. Well, and then he tried to explain to her, you're the one that played. You're the one that got involved. You're the one that made that decision. Why do you have a right to kill the baby because of your mistake? If you didn't want to get pregnant, don't sleep with anybody.
Yeah.
Then just for her to say, I don't care about this life. I can kill it because I got to stay in college. How absolutely calloused and careless and inhuman are we that we would kill a baby because of convenience? Oh, and the Democrats totally support that. I can't believe that, you know.
And it's like you said, it's because they're involved in selling body parts. There is a market for this because in Canada now, there's no longer an organ donor problem because of the medical assistance in dying. And they've had doctors that were talking about it from they're like pulling the baby apart and saying how much they're going to get for each part of it. That is disgusting. I'm sorry, but if you're looking at an innocent little child and want to rip them apart and saying, well, I'm going to get X amount of dollars for that part, you belong in prison. That is depraved thinking. And they lie to these women and say that this is your right so they can kill their babies and they can profit off of it. That is disgusting. Sick.
It is so pathetic. And then yet we call ourselves the greatest nation on the face of the planet. We were supposed to be, and we were once. But for us to pretend that our government supported murdering of innocent babies, and even after they're born, where you can actually say, like the former governor of Virginia said, if we had a baby that survived an abortion attempt, so we'll make it comfortable while we kill it. And that's literally what it said. And that's in the United States of America. And during COVID, we actually did even something similar because we had law enforcement, including a couple of sheriffs here and there across the country, that arrested pastors for having church during COVID-19.
Oh, yeah.
I am proud to say about 550 sheriffs nationwide refused to enforce COVID-19 mandates. How wonderful that is. And we say, but that's only like 16-17% of all the sheriffs in the country. We should have had 80-90% of the sheriffs standing and not enforcing these evil, unconstitutional, communistic mandates. And so I praise the sheriffs that did the right thing, but it wasn't nearly enough. But at the same time, I assail the sheriffs, Sheriff Chronister in Tampa, who arrested Pastor Rodney Howard Brown for having church. Folks, we had other pastors who did just the opposite and kicked the police, for the state police, out of their counties when they came to shut down churches. And one sheriff, Glenn Hamilton in New Mexico, deputized all the parishioners in the church for Caleb Cooper. And he said, these people are under my authority and this church will remain open. Very, very good. That's what we want. That's a constitutional sheriff. That's what we want. He's been to our training twice, and this is what we need now. No matter who becomes president, who takes over for the Democrat Party in the near future, which I really fear again, that Kamala Harris could be our president, or Newsom, or AOC. How about AOC and Newsom, president and vice president?
Oh my God. That'd be like Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland running America.
Talk about Beavis and Butthead, huh?
Yeah, that would just, the world would go to hell in a handbasket very fast, and
Yep.
we don't want that. I will say that with what they're doing here now, we have to, the brakes have to be put on this. There is no two ways about this, because you have people that are violating the law. They're violating the worst laws, like you mentioned in COVID. COVID was the biggest money laundering operation in the Earth's history. It was,
Fauci made money off of it, and that was documented by Senator Rand Paul. Fauci was making money off of those mandates.
of course he was. And when they came to when they did the pandemic response, and I've done like digging into this because my background, mechanical engineering, I'm a technologist, got a bachelor degree. And the engineering controls were the first step. That was effectively ignored across the board. The NIH, the NIAD, they all those agencies, even the CDC, they have involvement for doing biosecurity in the level 4 labs, are all aware of the engineering controls. They have engineers on staff in some of their sub agencies. They work with agencies like ASHRAE, so they knew that engineering controls was a first response.
And not to mention the vaccines that made billions and billions.
Yes. So when they did not do the engineering controls properly, every step was tainted. The vaccines were a crime just by issuing from the mandates, because the initial state of emergencies that they put out and all the lockdowns were all based on crime. Like, that's negligence. They were intentionally spreading disease that we know that they were dealing with Peter Daszak and the Eco Health Alliance out in China, and that Canada was sending over pathogens to China that they were putting together. We knew that they were putting together infectious clones and so forth, doing gain of function research, and then oops, it got out of the lab and there was just a bunch of contamination everywhere. That's crime. They all need to go to prison. Every single person involved.
They do, and what's really sad is it doesn't look like that's going to happen. We need sheriffs to investigate Fauci.
Yes, we do.
And do a criminal investigation on that, because everything you just said was absolutely true. And there's a paper trail on everything you just mentioned. Let me read one quote from my Supreme Court case. Look, folks, this is very small. It's a review. It fits right in your shirt pocket. Very small, only 16 little pages. It's not even maybe it's a centimeter thick. Very small. You can read this in 10 minutes. This is the most powerful Supreme Court case regarding the 10th Amendment and individual liberty that's ever in the history of our country. And I'm the one that started this whole thing. And when this decision came out, I put together the highlights of the case, and it's available at our website, CSPOA.org. Again, take a good look at this, okay? And it's really small. They're $3. I'm sorry, 3 for $5. Pass them around to everybody. Canadians need to see this case. Every American needs to see this case. And listen to what Justice Antonin Scalia said. The only time in U.S. history where sheriffs sued the federal government and won at the U.S. Supreme Court. I have won a case at the U.S. Supreme Court against the Clinton administration. This was a David versus Goliath. Heck of a story. But this is what Scalia said, and this applies to everybody worldwide. Quote, "But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions." Did everybody hear that? The Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. It divides power among sovereigns and among branches of government precisely so that we may resist the temptation, resist the evil to concentrate power in one location as an expedient solution to the crisis of the day. The crisis of the day. That's right in here. It's in the decision. Scalia put this in there. He quoted somebody else from another Supreme Court decision. This is so powerful, folks. You cannot believe how powerful this case is. It's still in effect. It came out June 27, 1997. And I am so proud to have been part of this and actually lead the way on this to make sure it got to the Supreme Court. Folks, the crisis of the day that Dell was just talking about, that government creates, and then they come in with a solution on the silver platter. As long as we give up our Constitution and give up our liberties and make them in charge of our lives and our health and everything about us, and destroy our Constitution and destroy liberty and destroy our businesses, destroy our children, destroy our schools, all that's acceptable because they said so. They created the crisis and then brought in the solution.
Oh, yes.
And it was worse than the crisis of the day. So
this is that was a business plan. And like with what you were talking about, how you went on the 10th Amendment, anything that wasn't given to the federal government or to the states, that right rests with the people. And when it comes to these investigations, this is what needs to be done. And these investigations, how you bring them forward is by the petition for redress of grievances. This is why we've done them, because you have to bring them forward. And when you give them to your government official, the obligation rests on them to bring it to the floor. And if they do nothing, this is where you go to your sheriff and start asking them to investigate as to why they're not dealing with the crimes that these criminals are doing. Because why are you protecting people who are basically turning us into slaves? Because you look at COVID, it was the biggest human trafficking operation on planet Earth. Everybody is getting poor. The children are getting stolen like crazy. Families are breaking down. This is insane. Something has to be done, and people need to push their people, right? Because, I mean, we put one out in Arizona, and it's going on 2 years now. What's been done with it, right? Secretary of State's office. You need to ask questions.
Well, he's a big crook anyway. The Secretary of State of Arizona right now, Adrian Fontes. He used to be a lawyer for the cartels. Yeah. And that's who our Secretary of State is now. Yeah.
And then your governor is also in bed with the cartels.
Oh, man.
Katie Hobbs.
Katie Hobbs has got to be the biggest joke of a governor in the entire country. And the Utah governor is a big crook, too. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to have to say, the most corrupt election fraud ever in the history of our country was Spencer Cox in Utah getting reelected as governor when he lost the state convention more than any other incumbent in the history of Utah politics. He lost the convention, and he still manipulated the system to remove the guy who beat him and take his place, and he stayed in.
Oh, wow. That's
Spencer Cox, C-O-X. Yeah, the one that came out about the assassination on Charlie Kirk and said what a great job we have done to bring this criminal to justice. And I prayed that it wasn't a Utahn that actually did it. We were hoping it was some stranger from some foreign country, but it's one of us. And what a joke he is. He's a Republican and he's a crook, and he committed an election fraud to stay in. And the entire Republican Party got behind him in the state, and the Secretary of State, Lieutenant Governor, all carried his water for him. What a joke! But Katie Hobbs is probably number 2 or 3, and then you say, oh well, what about Governor Walz? What about the governor in Washington State? They're all corrupt. They're all criminals, and we need sheriffs to stand up. But they're really attacking the sheriffs. In Washington State, they're getting rid of sheriffs. They're arresting sheriffs. They're suing sheriffs for doing their job. But I want to make sure I get this out before we end here, and I got to leave pretty quick.
yes.
But this is what I want every citizen listening to our show right now. Go to your sheriff and ask him if he's a constitutional sheriff, and then ask him, will you protect me from the IRS and other criminal bureaucrats that come in to steal our property and to take our substance from us. This government plundering has got to stop. And I want to know, if I'm going to support you next time, I want to know what you will do to protect us from out of control corrupt government. Folks, every one of you needs to do that. Join us at CSPOA.org. CSPOA.org. That entire constitutional sheriff movement was formed for you so that you'll have a place to go for protection and liberty.
Yes, because I mean, we people have to do something. I agree, because in your state, in Arizona, there was a woman there. They used the courts to steal her house and sent the sheriffs to take away the house. Her mother had title on the house, and they gave it to her ex-husband without transferring the title. They did to conceal the fraud, and the family courts, they need to be shut down. They are unconstitutional. They need to be investigated, and they need to stop doing that. Every person has to sit down and start saying, and even here in Canada, with the law enforcement, you have to sit down and say, who are you serving? Are you here to protect the people, or are you going to protect the cartel? Because that's where it comes down to. So before we close here, I'll get you to tell people where they can reach you and how they can find you.
Folks, it's all based on Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. The acronym for that is CSPOA. 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 CSPOA.org. Become a member of our posse. Make a donation. Become a part of the peaceful and effective solution that we have. And all we need for sheriffs to do this is to keep their word when they swore an oath in God's name to uphold and defend the United States Constitution. All we need to make this happen is that they keep their oath. They keep their word.
All right. I'm going to close here with a prayer, and then we will see everybody next time. And thank you for coming. All right. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, your grace, and mercy. And Father, we see that we are in such a dark hour at this time. And Father, I ask of you this day to get all the men and the women to stand up for what is right. And Lord, bless the people that they would go ahead and back all the people that are wanting to do what's right, and get the men and the women that are in positions of power that need to go and uphold the law, and give them the strength to do it, and raise up a generation of Elijahs and Mordecais to come and do what is right and pleasing in the sight of God, to deal with all these wicked pedophiles and these devil worshippers that are murdering children, that we can have protection for our families and rebuild our churches, our families, our community, our nations, that we can have some protection until we see, and protection for the children until we see you coming in the clouds, is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dale. Thank you. It's a pleasure being with you. And let's do it again anytime.